Good morning to you all. Welcome to the video conference to disclose the results of the first quarter from Vittia. This video conference is being recorded and you can access the replay on the website of the company and in the YouTube channel. The presentation is also available for download. We inform that all the participants will be watching the video conference during the presentation, and then we are going to begin a Q&A when further instructions will be given. Before continuing, I reinforce the declarations as the basis and suppositions from the administration from Vittia and the current information available for the company. These declarations can involve risks and uncertainties, having in view that they mean future events. So they depend on circumstances that can or not occur. Investors, analysts, and journalists must consider that the events related to the macroeconomic environment, to the segment, and other factors that can make the results be materially different from those expressed in respective declarations are present in this video conference. Mr. Wilson Romani, CEO, Mr. Alexandre Leonero Friso, CFO and Director of R&I, and Mr. Henriqueman, Director of P&DI. I'd like to pass the floor to Mr. Wilson Romanini that will begin the presentation. Please, Wilson, you can continue. Thank you, Thiago. First of all, good morning to you all. And we are here today to pass the results from Vittia of this first quarter. So, okay. I think that we have a revenue in this segment of the biologicals of 53.8 million in the first quarter. It is one that is 45.3% superior to the first quarter of 2022. It shows that the market of biological defense has been increasing, and we have been doing work that we have been applying within the company, being that the line of biodefenders has 45.49 million in the first quarter with a growth of almost 40%. The net revenue amounted 148.6 million, a little below the first quarter of 22. We had effectively a little complicated quarter within agro. I think we're going to talk later for you about this. Our net income with the revenue has a down of 19.4%, 12.6 million. And we were able to adjust the EBIT regarding the first quarter of 22. Capex, we totaled 11.2 million in the first quarter, 25.2% inferior to the first quarter of 22. We still have some works to be done, and what we put as Capex, we're going to be within what we wish within agribusiness. Then talking about our performance in the first quarter, so we have been keeping an accelerated growth in the part of the biofertilizers and also biodefenders, reinforcing the part of inoculants. And this is always centered with a new technology that we launched last year, a stimulator in the fossil, and this has been growing within Vittia. We have an adverse scenario in this first quarter, being that producers, while seeing that the inputs have been going down in prices, so they have been retarding the purchase of inputs. And we had a milho safrinha, which is an interesting market, but since we entered, we delayed our plantation of soy. We were in a risk window, and the rural producer contained his investments, postponed his investments, even thinking about a certain problem regarding their climate risk. It's important to highlight this. You see that the part of defense rules. Without defense, you will not have a plant with a capacity of production, but effectively in the nutritional process, the agriculture, the farmer restricted his usage. And we also have an important point to highlight there is within this scenario, the agro scenario in Brazil, a certain distrust on the producer side, a certain fear, and this restricts their investment. When we talk about our opportunities and risks within the current scenario, we have a favorable scenario. This is a year that we talk about El Nino, but it seems that we're going to have a stability. So probably we are going to have a regular climate within our country. And this makes the producer to plant, they're going to plant a lot, and there will be rentability, profitability. We have, if we do an analysis regarding the same period of last year, an exchange relationship, it's very favorable for the producer. So he's going to do the investment, he needs productivity, and we have noticing in a clear way a greater adoption of sustainable practices. This reinforces, strengthens our biodefenders world. Vittia, talking about our positioning, continues in its investment plans, both in research and development and innovation. And we have been amplifying understanding in this moment within the structure of Vittia, creating a greater robustness of our platform, commercial platform, always seeking the strengthening alongside rural producers to have a more presence, a better presence within the resellers and also within the cooperatives. And we work in a way that is very intense to have a volume of products, bioproducts, for us to meet this Brazilian market. Now I pass the floor to Frizi. He's going to pass some points to you. Good morning. Now talking about our financial performance, we had a growth in the lines of biologicals, talking about a relevant growth in inoculants, which was taken mainly due to the MLX, our phosphorus extractor during the first quarter of 22 was not launched yet. In the part of defenders biopesticides, we still see a good rhythm, in less accelerated rhythm from what we hope, and we have been presenting due to this challenging scenario of caution from the producer side, which impacted the line of foliar fertilizers that we had the growth, but not such a significant growth. But regarding organominerals and soil conditioners, we are having a problem due to all the dynamics that the war caused within the price of the basic fertilizers, and which brought a certain problem for the market here in Brazil. So we have been in some quarters suffering with this. This quarter, we had a strong impact in the pricing because we are comparing a quarter where we have a less than half of the first quarter of last year, remembering that the first quarter of the previous year was when we had the beginning of the conflict, and consequently that speculation that there could be a lack of fertilizers in Brazil due to the conflict, that ended up not happening. So we have a significantly lower price and with a restricted scenario of volume. In the soil micronutrients, we had a little downfall. It's a market that we hope that will come back to invest this year, but that is also suffering with the issue of the pricing, like the part of industrial products that even had a deceleration when we see in the quarter, and also like the organominerals due to the pricing and the volume also. Now going for the next slide, in terms of margin in the line of foliar fertilizers and industrial products, like the line of bio products, we had a margin similar to the previous year with some variations. Our understanding is that this was not significant. We have not seen no tendency in this quarter to compress the margin. In the part of soil micronutrients, we already had a margin reduction, like in the part of organominerals. Organominerals were having a factor that we have already seen in the end of last year of dealing with a very high stock. We ended up dealing with the stock last year due to a charter that was not honored by the producers. And there was a downfall in the prices. Producers did not renew it. So we ended up having a expensive stock. And then we had a very low level of sales that did not enable us to have a necessary scale to dilute the fixed costs of our two plants of organominerals. So regarding the part of expenses, we continue to invest to structure the company, our commercial network, invest in the part of R&D and R&DI. We hope to have a good year. The fundamentals persist. We're going to have a year of growth, and we continue within this rhythm of gradually structuring the company and preparing ourselves for this year's growth and in the next years. Okay, and let's continue. As a result of this quarter where we had a downfall in revenue, which was compensated by the issue of mix, where the biologicals had compensated the fall in the revenue in the more commoditized lines. We were able to have a growth of a gross profit. So there is a contribution in the gross margin, which was compensated by our growth in the administrative and sales part, resulting in a small decrease in the adjustment that went 3.3% down. Regarding to the margin, we had a little growth regarding this issue of mix. Regarding CapEx, we also continue to follow our investment plan, focusing mainly in our biological plant. We are going to deliver the phase 2 for this quarter. It's practically concluded. It ended up that we took even more time than we had imagined. It was an investment that was announced in the last quarter of 2021. We took a year and a half to do this publicity. It was something that we had in our radar that could be delayed, but even with delays, we are able to reach the main objective, which is to have this available capacity to meet the crop season 23-24. So we are going to have a lot of tranquility to continue to meet the expectations for the growth of biologicals for this year. Regarding the cash flow, this is a quarter where we traditionally consume the capital. So this is a period where we are between the planting and the harvest of soy. We need to concert 30 to 4, 30 to 5. We consume a lot. But this year, there is the reduction in these lines of commodities like organominerals and industrial products. We have a smaller consumption of the working capital in the quarter. We had no positive generation. We actually had a smaller consumption, making us reach in the end of the quarter a reduction of the net debt, both in nominal terms and relative terms to the EBITDA. Now, talking about the financial results and taxes, we had a less negative financial result in the quarter. This was due to our financial revenue, due to the adjustment of the values, which was a significant superior revenue to the first quarter of 22. This revenue usually refers to the sales of the previous year. So if the first quarter of 21 refers to the sales that were done the previous year, and if 22 referred to the sales that were concretized in 21. So we have a difference in the rate of, usually we had an average one that was more than 21. That's why the financial revenue that is appropriate throughout the cycle between sale and receiving was more significant in this first quarter of 23. Regarding the fiscal part, we had an increase percent. It was important, but in name, was 1 million. It's not something so representative. And this was due to the tax basis, some non-deductible expenses that happened in the first quarter of 23 when compared to the first quarter of 22. As a result of the EBITDA and the financial performance and fiscal performance, we had a reduction in our net profit that went from 6 million to 12.6, 16 million to 12.6 million. We had a small reduction in the margin. Now, talking about the part of research, I pass the floor to Henrique. Thank you, Alexandre. Good morning to you all. So Vittia continues strong with the investments, increasing our investments in R&DI. In the first trimester of 23, the investments were of 27,112 reais, an increase regarding the same period of last year of 56.8%. They followed this investment. The form investment is adherent to our budget, our program, and looking line by line, we have invested and continued to move in the bioproducts and biodefenders. So a relationship 70-30 regarding the fertilizers, 28% for fertilizers of this total investment. Regarding the net revenue, the investment in the first quarter of 23 was 4.8% regarding the net revenue. And we have developed and was regulated in the first quarter. We regulated a recommendation of 6 notes to the use of bios in our products of biodefenders to meet the cultures of great importance like cotton, soy, and corn. Now I pass the floor to Alexandre. Now talking about the performance of our stock, although we had a downfall, we continue with a significant gain regarding Ibovespa since from our IPO. We had an important event in this first quarter in which we completed 18 months of the offer. And so we had the liberation of the negotiations for non-qualified investors. We had a significant impact in terms of number of investors that went from 1,600 to 3,000 investors, but without the impact in terms of volume of negotiations. We had the follow-up of the market, a reduction in the volume of the previous years, and despite this growth in the basis of the investors, the retail investors still have a small representativity in our basis. Now it is around 3 to 5% of the basis of those in the market. Now, passing for the next slide, we are going to begin the part of Q&A. Now we are going to begin the Q&A session for analysts and investors. If you wish to make some question, please click and raise your hand to request by voice or in the Q&A button and write your question. Our first question is from Mr. Joaquim Etier from VITT3. Would like to ask for voice. Please, can you free his mic? Good morning, can you hear me? Good morning. Thank you for the question. Really, this quarter was complicated for this sector. But would you like to look forward? I would like to understand if you could give, if the next quarters, if there was an evolution in your chart, this level of stocks that Alexandre commented on, which were expensive, how is it now? Were you able to deal with them? If we were able to possibly see an increase in the image in the next quarter, what lines do you hope that could evolve more? And lastly, the organominerals, how much could we see a recovery in the margin and volume for the next quarters? Okay, Joaquim, good morning. Well, what do we have in agro? Agro, I think that we all know, is a sector that is very dynamic, one that has been giving a lot of product in this last 3 years. This year, we were taken by surprise. I think this is an important thing to say, to highlight here regarding the down in the prices, mainly in soy. We had a super crop here in Brazil. We had 156 million tons of soy. But we also had a deficit in Argentina, around 25 to 30 million tons. So when we effectively take South America and we do an analysis in the year of 22-23, things are correlated. And so there is no super offer, but we see clearly that you have the great players, the great trades, they have their movements, and we effectively created a depreciation in the price of the harvested product nowadays. So we understand the following. We have a crisis of distrust. We are with a government where you have a significant volume of land invasions. We have movements within the government that do not effectively give a clear notion on how they are with the agribusiness. There is also this fiscal adjustment, but we live not only in the agro, but in the country itself. We are trying to understand what will this year be in the years that are to come. We see the following. We are not going to have in agro a good first quarter. Why is that? Because effectively, many people repress the purchase. We have lived the crop 21-22 and even 22-23 with a great expectation due to the lack of inputs. So there was an anticipation of purchase. Everybody ran. The was very high. If we take, for example, the biophyphosate, a product that was 100 reals the liter, now it's 20 the liter. So the agriculture said that the offer is not that much a problem. We even think that if this retardness continues in terms of purchase, the companies, the industries, we have a lot of difficulty to deliver the product. Vittia is here working, preparing itself for this in a measured way. Let's say we cannot put our feet, let's say, in the accelerator, but we are planned here internally. The wallet of requests will continue to happen now. As I said, there was a problem from the part of the producer in terms of purchase, but it will happen when we look the relationship. We do this here internally, the relationship of exchange. If we do the same analysis in the same period of the previous year, the relationship is much more positive. The producer will invest. We see that it seems that we are going to have a normal climate year. They will invest in their crop. They know they need productivity. And I think that an important thing within Vittia is that we are knowing more that our technologies, when we talk about biodefenders, biopesticides, they now can fight in equal, taking more results regarding productivity, and also a fall in the cost for those who use biodefenders. So Vittia is well prepared to perform within this second semester. So you talked about our stock. We are accompanied with a great variability of input. We did the work mainly in the end of last year in trying to work in a certain reduction of this stock. The great stock that we have is still in the part of organominerals, but it's not what we had previously. And we see the following. I think that we did great. We learned a lot in the part of organominerals. Now we have a completely independent team effectively working with this line of products. So without a doubt, this will take us to better businesses. I think that another important thing, like I said, we already did the work to reduce this old stock. We begin to have newer stock, and this truly creates a better performance of results. And I think that the main point, one of the points here, is also the great equation that we did in the industrial system. So we have a much more versatile manufacturer, one that is more logic in terms of production, and consequently with a lower cost in the productive process. So I think that we understand that we have great challenges in the agribusiness and this crop season 23-24, but I see that Vittia is performed to have a good performance through the year. Thank you very much. Our next question comes from Mr. Leonardo Alencar from XP. Please, you can free his mic, open his mic actually. Good morning, Wilson, Henrique, Friso. Thank you for receiving my question. I would like to have a little bit more of coloring, let's say, if you can offer both to the MLX that you're commenting on this project that has had a success, to understand what is growth, what it represents in the profit, and a little bit of details regarding the bio. You're going to have a good performance. I see that you're having a good performance. So if you could please see the prices, the volume in terms of the bios, it would be interesting. And another point that Wilson commented on, we see the scenario of the sector, the margins of the previous year, they are smaller. This year who delayed the purchase, possibly we have better margins now, maybe to have a more mixed scenario throughout the year. Should the producer continue to invest? But there are many who didn't sell the soy, but my doubt is in the sense that if you see that this could affect your performance throughout the year, or even if the dynamics of the reselling can be affected throughout the year. And overall, because you have a track record of diminishing, if this scenario could open also for opportunity. I know this is a more sensible point, but I would like to have more details regarding this. Thank you very much. Leonardo, regarding the issue of MELI-X, MELI-X, it's a project that has an interesting characteristic. We truly are able to potentialize the actions mainly of the phosphorus. We have a very interesting budget for this project. We had the first quarter with this project that is infinitely greater because we had nothing in the year of 2000, in the first quarter of 22. So we understand the following: what we have planned, we are going to fulfill. But in the issue of bios, it's like you said, Vittia is a company that now has been working in an intense way. That's why Henrique is there. He's the one responsible for the research and development. We are in front of other people in the market in terms of the target. This gives us a great capability of performing in the field. We have some thesis and some market niches where we want to become a great reference. This is what we're doing here within Vittia. I think that something that is very important to say is that this year we took from the field around basically 40 works where we did 100% of the control of plagues and diseases with the biodefenders, and we were so efficient or more efficient than the chemical products. And this is reinforcing the work of performance in terms of project. This is the work from Henrique in the development. So to potentialize this microorganism, and this is what I talk about when we receive the registry of a product or a target. This was tested side by side with a chemical defender. And if you do not have a better or equal performance, if you do not have the registry, this is a great work that Vittia is, I think it's in front of their competitors. And then within, it's your last question, even coming back a little bit, the issue of opportunities. Look, we are always paying attention to this. We have a pipeline, we discussed this. I think that this year is one for us to have a greater attention. Vittia is a company that we can, in some moment, have a tendency for this, but we will be observers. We're not going to do any kind of business because we have a stock, so we want to do something that aggregates value within the company. If I could just do a follow-up, you talked about the pipeline and NMA, but if you seek the part of the pipeline in products, we also have many launches, the process of registry. I think it's something very important here, but given this change, macro, political, governmental change, eventually could this impact or has impacted you in the process of registry, launches of product, just to understand if the size of the pipeline is increasing bid for more products, or if there is some kind of problem in the system, something that we should be concerned with? I'm going to pass this to Henrique, that he's more familiarized with this issue. Well, Leonardo, well, regarding if there was some kind of change, we have not noticed. We have been following the bodies, regulators, IBAMA, and so on, and there was no movement towards the increase of the terms to regulate our projects. We are having a close work with the regulating bodies and we are active in our association. We are not seeing this movement of holding up the registries and retard the processes that are going on. Thank you. Thank you for the detailing. Our next question comes from Mr. Leonardo Vicente Paiva. from Piva Investors through the chat. It says the following. Given the potential of the company's growth, mainly in the segment of bios, accelerate the repurchase of stock will not be a way to generate value for the current stockholders. Friso. Well, this is a theme that we have been discussing. Actually, it's much more broad, which is the allocation of our money. So we are a little further. I think that we could leverage more without having great scares, let's say. I think that in the current scenario, to work with more than 2.5 in the net debt is not recommended. I think it was never recommended, actually. I have been in the company since 2014. And in the few times at the beginning when we would work close to 3 to 4 times without a great problem. So Agri has this issue of having the season, cycles. It's still a little further from the financial market. So we have a limitation regarding regards to other sectors, but we have the space. And this is one that we're being very cautious to see how we can do this in the best way possible. We have these 2 great possibilities now, a repurchase or the M&A. Our initial plan has always been M&A to seek the company's growth. We are being very cautious when analyzing the opportunities. We had an important change in the scenario from the last year to this year. Is even decelerated something. We're more advanced internally. So we, in this discussion, I think that honestly, it's still too early for us to have a position regarding the allocation. And these are possibilities of using basically 200 million reais, which would be considering the EPIDAT, and it wasn't an EPIDAT that was performed in the next 12 months. So it's in 200 and something million reais. So that's it. We have this way of doing, and we need to use it in our favor. And even to give tranquility for us to continue to invest in the team and invest in the organic growth. We had a bad trimester or a semester. We have a lot of tranquility. So we were going to be very cautious to use this and the M&A. I think that, yes, there will be opportunities. I think it's too early. We're talking about 1 quarter. It's a challenging scenario. We're going to say there is going to be 2. It's not going to be very positive. So we are waiting. We have a clear scenario to have assertiveness in the allocation of these capitals. But 2 things are still on the table. Now the next question comes from Vitório Garcia. Could you talk more about the dynamic of price and volume that you have seen in the biodefenders, please? Could you please repeat the question? Can you talk more on the dynamic price and volume that you have seen in the biodefenders? Look, when we effectively look to the issue of price and volume, we see very clearly that the prices of the biodefenders are highly compatible for the consumption of the rural producer. So we do not see a degradation in terms of prices. We still have a certain limitation regarding the manufacturing in the entire country. So the demand comes very strong, and automatically there is no manufacture to meet this demand. And we believe that this demand of biodefenders comes very strong this year. And the volume has been growing, let's say, in a very interesting way. So actually, we see a very linear relationship between price and volume. So the revenue truly grows due to the volume. Our next question comes from Mr. João Festas, analyst from Orient Capital via chat. Good morning. Could you give more details on the commercial fronts that you are addressing and what explains the significant increase in R&DI in this trimester? Fizu, could you please? Yes. Well, I said in the presentation, we continue with this possibility of investing in the team, in structure, research and development. We have a quarter or even a semester that was not favorable, and we cannot be adjusting all the company's strategy due to 1 or 2 quarters. We look to a longer period to define our strategy. So if we were seeing a very bad scenario for the year, a change in fundamentation in the agro, I think then we should rediscuss internally our plans, expansions, investment in team, structure, and personnel. But this is not the case. So we have to continue thinking about the short to medium term. Of course, in this trimester, what happens in some quarters, actually, there is a concentration of expenses. I think this is not the level that the expenses that we hope for the year, but we do not hope to have a reduction of this in any way. As I have said, our year per year, we have been trying to grow in structure close to the growth rhythm of the revenue. Of course, like I said, we have the expectancy for the year, so also the expenses will grow. If in a quarter we had a downfall, we are not able to reduce in the quarter, and then the other grow and so on. So this is a little bit of our dynamics. We hope to have growth for the year, and we are going to grow our structure and DNA. And I'm not going to tell you like it will be in the inflation. It will be in a real growth because we are hiring people and increasing the structure. So that's it. We have this strategy of keeping this, and we have been keeping the DNA as a percentage of the revenue in the previous years. But we do not look to trimester to trimester, or else we're not going to be able to follow this and look as the percentage of the revenue in the quarter. And then talking about commercial front, I don't know if we talk about this, we continue to invest in this market, doing the field tests, demonstrating our products, increasing the team, relationship. So we continue to be active in the commercial part, to be able to show our technologies alongside producers and the influencers. So we even have incremented the number of demonstrations year per year, increasing the number of visitations, the number of relationships and interactions. So we can increase our capillarity and the perceptiveness of our products. Yes, I want to reinforce something about this issue, giving a little bit of a view to you. So you can see that we work from Vittia. Of course, we have the attention here from the Department of Special Fertilizers, but this is a more an older market that has like 20 years showing its efficiency, its need. If we now think about the biodefenders part, we are effectively working there for 7 years, and we are having a dispute with an industry of 80 years. And now we talk about this, and our people that we are fighting for are not from the, they're also there. So our competition we have in the chemical industry. Now we have technologies that are capable of having a similar or better performance of the chemicals with a much more interesting cost for the real producer. But first, to disseminate this, we need investment. So one thing that we do here every single time is to be within what we understand that is a reasonable number, putting people to disclose this great technology, which is the biodefender. I think that this is why we have an implementation year per year regarding the generation of people within the commercial department. Next question comes from Mr. Alexandre Assafi. Congratulations for the results. What type of work has Vittia been doing alongside producers to show the benefits in the substitution for chemical products, substitution of chemical products for bioproducts? Look, this is a great work from Vittia. We, like I said previously, for you to understand, this year Vittia did 200,000 fields, experimental fields. This is relevant. So, as I said, we did partnerships with great clients, both in the market of soy, the market of cotton, coffee, where we were able to prove in a commercial scale, this is no longer a test. As I said, we did 200,000 testing in 23-24 crop season, but we basically did 35, 40 areas. I think that now it's 40. We have the Vila Safrinha coffee, where we completely took the chemical defenders in a commercial scale. The sole product that we were not able to substitute is the herbicides, the glyphosate, because there's still no technology that solve this problem through biodefenders. But this is a constant work. So the numbers are there for you to understand what we are doing, okay? The next question comes from Mr. Guilherme Lanzoni, an investor. We also talked about the productivity of the bio regarding the chemical, but how is the price dynamic for the producer in the defender and inoculant regarding the same period of last year? Could you talk about the spread of pricing of the producer using the chemical regarding the bio? Look, Guilherme, we have here a lot of data in this sense. Nowadays, we are able to do a control of a crop in a lower cost than the chemical product. So it depends on the crop, but each one of them has an operational cost. But the thing is, nowadays, we truly can make an inferior cost, and we have been putting a certain increase in productivity. Remembering that to make questions, just click and raise your hand or in the Q&A button and write your question. So with no further questions, I declare the Q&A session closed. We would like to pass the floor to Mr. Wilson Romanini to make the final considerations of the company. Well, once more, good morning to you all. What we can tell you is that Vittia truly is a company that is well prepared for this year of 23, the crop season 23-24. Of course, we have our challenges. Agribusiness is highly dynamic. It has the small problems, the great changes. But I think that more than this, I think that it's the structure of the company. And I think that Vittia has been doing a good job, and we are happy, always happy. We see agro as a great reference, not only in Brazil, but in the world. We have every time more people in the planet. People are trying to improve their purchase power, and this reflects itself in the improvement in the feeding. We see this clearly regarding proteins. So that's it. In a very clear way to you, we are working in a simple way. It's like beans and rice with a lot of dynamics, will, and without a doubt, with a lot of intensity for growth. That's what I can pass to you. The Vittia video conference is closed. The area of relationship with investors can answer the other doubts and questions. We thank you for participation and have a great day. Thank you all. Thank you.